Hey guys. Well, y'all, it is the middle of July and it is hot. So I don't know about you all, but I know that here in Northeast Tennessee, the garden really starts to struggle in July, at least at my house. Whenever we start getting the real intense temperatures and we've not had a lot of rain, things just really begin to struggle. My tomatoes are getting light. So I'm probably going to start pulling some things out, but you know what? In the garden world, pulling things out is not always a bad thing, because whenever you pull some things out that are not doing really well, then it's time to start putting some new things in. So I'm going to start planning and planting my fall garden, and this will be the first year that I have done a complete full fall garden. So I have planted some things in the fall before, but only sporadically, a thing or two here and there. But this year I'm going to plant multiple things. I'm going to have a real fall garden. Maybe not as big as my summer garden was, but I'm certainly going to have a lot of stuff. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to do broccoli, cauliflower. I'm going to replant some Brussels sprouts. I'm going to do carrots. A lot of the things that don't really do well in the heat of summer, I'm going to start planting some of those. So I'm going to show you some things that are going on in the garden. I'm going to show you the full spectrum of things. I told you all at the very beginning of the season that I was going to show you even the bad things so that we can learn together. I'm learning in this process too. I'm not an expert gardener by any means. I have done it for a few years, but I have a lot to learn, but I also have a lot to share. So I'm going to show you the tomatoes and the blight and everything that's going on wrong in the garden, but then I'm going to show you everything that's going right, because even among the bad and the ugly, the good still arises, and I love that about the garden. So let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, y'all. So let me just show you what the garden starts looking like in July, and this is even after I have actually trimmed some dead stuff away. But well, the rose is going crazy. I need to tie it up to the trellis, obviously. I love the zinnias. Those are always a great addition to the garden, and those will always be in my garden. I absolutely love them. So, but what I'm going to show you today is the good, bad, and the ugly. And so right now I'm going to show you the ugly. So you can see trimmings on the ground where I've been out here pruning all morning, and you can see that blight is trying to take over. And so when your tomatoes begin to get blight, the tomatoes that are on the vine, most of them will still develop and will still ripen. If it takes over greatly, they may not, but for the most part they will still continue to develop. The plant even continues to grow. You can see the top of this plant is continuing to grow, but the bottom of it has blight, and just depending on how disease resistant the plant is will determine how fast it takes over. Some of these, the disease has completely taken over and there's almost nothing left of them, and that's how this one is, which is really sad because this is the mortgage lifter, one of the ones that I was super excited about, but I'm not going to get much fruit from. I wish I had done more than one. Lesson learned, y'all. Here's another one. This one has a lot of dead on it, and I'm going to just continue trimming that dead off and let the tomatoes that are on it try to continue to develop. Same thing here. This one has almost no leaves, but you can see where the top of it just continues to develop, and it also continues to produce flowers, which are developing into fruit. It is not hard for the garden to really get away from you at this point. It starts growing so prolifically that it's super hard to keep up with. So you can see the blight on this tomato too, but that's kind of the downside to things. But on the upside, You know, there are so many other things that are growing so prolifically, and I'm going to show you the melons that have just completely taken over, which is awesome, I had wondered if I was going to get any good melons this year, but they have finally started to grow. And so these are supposed to be rows, but you can see the melon is just taken over. You cannot even see the walkway of the row, which weeds were beginning to take over anyway, despite the fact that I had put down some ground cover. So every year I come up with something different to fight off weeds, and every year I lose. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a year that I win. Look at those peppers. They're doing great. And this little thing here is causing trouble in the garden. Hi. That is my daughter's new puppy. And she comes here during the day while Chanda's at work. She's a cutie. I was going to show you the melon that I found, if I can find it again. I'll start again from this side. Show you a couple other things. There is one of the pumpkins. You quit, little girl. And those are growing up along this vine. There's another one just starting. And I'm going to try to keep that trimmed back to one main vine. This is the blue Hubbard squash. It's getting fruit on it. It is not doing very well. So you see, now I've already trimmed some things off of the blue Hubbard squash. But it's still growing, so I'm just going to leave it alone. There's that melon. Look! Isn't that gorgeous? I'm so excited about the melons, you all. Wait, I see another one. There's another one. I don't know why it looks so white. Maybe it's just where it's just beginning. But this is exciting, you guys. So, even though there is a lot of this going on, there's also a lot of this. So it's all about balance in the garden, you all. There's no such thing as a perfect garden that does not ever get disease or pest damage. And if there is, I would worry about it. You know, it's the ecosystem creates balance in your garden. You may have bugs, but then the birds may come along and eat the bugs. So it all pans out in the end if you will just bear with it. You will experience loss, but you will also experience harvest. And you will experience a great harvest if you just believe and keep going. I like to pray over my garden. I love for the Lord to bless my garden, and that is exactly what He does. He blesses it greatly. The cucumbers are doing so good. Look at all the fruit. There's a melon there. There. Melon, melon, melon. Baby melons. Look at all of the tomatoes. Everywhere. Continuing to climb up the vine. That is awesome. And on this end of the bed too. Tomato. Tomatoes. That was one. There was two. There's three. That's funny. There's one starting to turn. They're all the way up that vine. And then look at all of these squash. That is so beautiful. Going across the arbor. Pumpkin's getting bigger. Starting to look like a jungle, y'all. Got a couple melons over here. One hiding in the grass. That's another blue Hubbard squash, but the plant is not healthy. It's looking rough. The one that was in here, I ended up pulling. And another melon right there. That one's looking good. It has not grown a whole lot, but the plant looks healthy. And if you look real close right here, those are the Brad's Atomic Grapes. If I can focus in on it. And those are starting to ripen. Finally, one of them has split. I love sunflowers, and that one is gorgeous, even though I have trimmed a few dead ones off already. It's beautiful. Both of these grapevines have struggled, and I've had to keep them covered up because of all the beetles this year. I have planted a couple of pepper plants. One is a yellow and one is a green bell. And I think they'll have time to give me a little bit of harvest before the end of the season. And I've also purchased one more tomato plant that was on sale. And I think it's already got some tomatoes on it, so I think it will have time to produce a little bit. Here's the tomato plant that I purchased. See the little tomatoes on it already? So I think I'll get some good harvest from that before the end of the season. So not a full garden tour, but just a few of the things that's going on in the garden. I know it's been a long time since I've updated you all, but there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things that are kind of piddling out and dying away. Some things are even having some mold and some blight, and that's okay. I've planted a few other things, and I have harvested a lot of stuff, and the garden has blessed me greatly this year. So you all have a great night. God bless you.